think it's so great they can't even believe God invented it because they were raised where you aren't supposed to enjoy anything in life.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, there's something else that happens, and there's a release of a hormone that just saturates the brain, and that hormone is oxytocin. Now, that is the same hormone that is released when a mother nurses her baby. And oxytocin is a supernatural bonding hormone. It's a chemical that goes throughout your body. If you're nursing a baby, throughout the baby's body, and let's just say the cave woman, here she is, she becomes supernaturally bonded to this baby.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's something else that happens because of oxytocin. You get bonded to whatever you're bonded to, but you're also very aggressive toward anything that threatens whatever you're bonded to.
Sure.
So, cave woman, she hears a lion outside the cave that might run in and attack her baby. She'd secure the baby. She'd go outside and she'd take on that lion because she's aggressive, supernaturally aggressive toward anything that is a threat. Okay, so when a guy has a sexual experience with pornography, dopamine, and oxytocin, pornified men, literally are bonded with their pornography.
Wow.
That's what you can't not be. So then, not only are you bonded to this, but you're aggressive toward any threat to it. So now all of a sudden, you don't know, wow, why is it this woman I thought was so great? Why can't I can't stand her. I don't even want her around me. I don't even understand. Why is that? Oxytocin is the answer. So two things are true. You are, let's say three. You are hooked on the pornography. You are bonded to the pornography. And anyone that's a threat to it, they just at minimum irritate you. But maximum, you can't stand to be around them because you're so bonded to pornography.
Wow, that's incredible. And you said that information is in the 20th anniversary edition of the Everyman's Battle book?
It's all right there.
Okay.
In there.
And you mentioned just, briefly previously here about kind of not wanting to admit that we are addicted. And I know in the Everyman's Battle book, you use phrases like fractional addiction or low-grade sexual fevers. Can you explain a little bit of that and then how maybe we can, realize that we're in that place and kickstart ourselves out of it?
Yeah, there are different levels of true sexual addiction. And when we wrote the first book, we were kind of thinking this was the pre-sexual addiction book. Anything that we had in there would certainly help somebody that was a sex addict. But we were just thinking, this was kind of a pre-addiction book. And, but, the more that we looked at what guys are into, you start off with pornography and it's you and you're like at level one. Nothing you're doing is illegal and nothing you're doing involves a real live human being. Well, then, a lot of guys, maybe they stay right there, but most don't. And so then you could go two different directions. One is at another level, now you're involved with a person. You get so full of lust. Now you want to act out on what you're looking at in videos. And you're finding frustration that your spouse isn't that excited about doing that with you. And then there's another level. So either you want to be with a real person, or now you're into some illegal stuff. Prostitute. It's not just an affair, but it's prostitute. Or now you're into levels of pornography that are illegal, child porn, things like that. And so wherever you are along the way, we can help you. But I received a phone call from a woman who was married, is still married, to one of the great Christian communicators of the world. And she said, my husband is suicidal. And I said, why? Because I kind of knew already, men get suicidal either due to financial failure or some shameful thing that they've done.
Yeah.
So she said, well, he came to me in tears, and he had gotten involved in pornography. And then he got curious. And then he clicked on a child porn site. And, a lot of the videos, they kind of entice you into other levels. Like, I know there's this one, and I've seen this video years ago, but it's just a pornographic video. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle of it, they run a group of 18 or 20 naked children. No reason for them to be in this video, but there they go running through the field. Well, what is that? That's trying to, kind of entice a guy to think about that. So this guy, Christian man, hooked on pornography, now he clicks on a child porn site, and this thing comes up that says, you just clicked on a site that's monitored by the FBI. We know who you are. We're coming to get you. So he's going to kill himself rather than have that happen. But I told him, okay, so let's say they're going to come. How about this? You go to Every Man's Battle, and when they contact you, you can say, yeah, I did that. I was curious. It was a one-time thing, but it woke me up. I got help. So every year now, I get a phone call on his anniversary of him getting pure and getting his marriage back, just to say thanks. And it's just such a great thing to see somebody go from suicide to now he's probably got the best marriage he's ever had, and he probably would have never gotten there if he hadn't gotten caught like this, because he was on the fringe of intimacy, on the fringe of true commitment. But, once you get some help, you have an opportunity to really get into an authentic lifestyle and true intimacy with a woman. But a pornified guy, you cannot help but objectify and depersonalize a woman. And you're just never, ever going to be the kind of husband and partner that you could be until you get help for the problem.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Can you, in the book, you talk a little bit about while you're trying to, detox maybe, or, grow out of your addiction, get help. But also on the other side of it, those of us who are married, learning to cherish and honor our wife at the same time while you're also fighting for your purity. And that's kind of what you're just talking about now, but can you just explain that just a little bit more?
Well, the book that we did that I think is probably in some ways more profound than Every Man's Battle is Every Man's Marriage. And really what that is a book on mutual submission. Because, a lot of times most of the time, when the word submission is brought up, in Ephesians, there's about 40 words written to a woman on her need to submit to a guy. But right after that, there are about 90 words on a guy's need to die to himself.
Yeah.
To literally choose to die to himself for the sake of intimacy with her. The 40 words to her, and then we get 90 because it's harder for us sometimes to grasp it. But the verse right before all of that happens and a woman is told to submit is the verse that says, submit yourselves one to another out of reverence for Christ. Now, a lot of people just kind of over the years have ignored that verse. But really, I think that is the context, mutual submission. She submits, he dies to himself. I say to people all the time, if you're a guy and you find a woman who's willing to submit to an honorable guy, you should be willing to die to self for that rare person. And if a woman finds a man of integrity who's willing to die to himself to build intimacy, you'd be foolish not to submit to that. But see, that really is a mutuality. It's not dictator doormat. Where in the Bible do you see Jesus treating women or teaching about human beings that come close to anything like she'll just give up who she is and just she'll be the doormat, he'll be the dictator.
Right.
And this thing about the two shall become one, hey, it's one flesh. That's talking about sexual oneness. That doesn't mean she gives up who she is to become one person with it. No, no, no. You're still an individual of great worth and value. And so we got a lot of misconceptions about how to have an intimate, honoring, God honoring and reflecting relationship. But it doesn't come from a dictator doormat. It doesn't come from a woman being some weak-willed person that's willing to take anything. It comes from two people seeking God and seeking each other and being willing to give up their own agendas and their own egos and all of that to have oneness, which is what God's calling us to.
That's really good. So you talked about, Every Man's Marriage. How many different Every Man books are there now?
Well, there, when I talked to Fred after I got that manuscript, Fred said to me, he said, Steve, I have a vision that there would be 6 books and that they would sell all over the world, millions of copies all over the world. He said, God gave me that vision. And I thought, yeah, Fred, God's given that vision to a lot of people. That vision goes dark pretty quickly after the book is published and 7 people are interested in it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fred turned out to be one of the most godly men with one of the most amazing relationships with God. And that vision came true. There are 6 books in the series, and they have sold over 4 million copies around the world.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah.
You talk a little bit about, and we even talked about it a little bit earlier, about there's more chances now for men to be clean and pure. I know some of that has to do with accountability software and other things, but I think you would probably say having a personal physical partner is incredibly important. How is the church addressing that, and how can we improve that as far as the church addressing men's sexual integrity issues?
Yeah. Well, some churches are addressing it, and some churches don't. And, sometimes our experience is that, a lot of pastors struggle. And so that's not going to become their big cause, or they're not going to even want to talk about it. We had one pastor that came to Every Man's Battle workshop. And when right before he'd preach, he would hand his computer to the tech guy who would put his sermon notes, up on the big screen. And this one Sunday, the tech guy clicks and boom, there's the pornographic picture the pastor was looking at in his study before he went up to preach. And
wow,
wasn't a smart guy, or he might have said, well, I just wanted you to see how horrible things are, or something like that. But anyway, they didn't fire him. He got help. He didn't preach for a year. And, but he was restored. Well, I think there are a lot of pastors that are really struggling with this, and a lot of churches aren't doing anything about it. But think about this. If I wanted to speak to a church about problems and I brought up alcoholism, in a church, how many people are alcoholic? Maybe 10%, 15%, max, But the statistics I see, there are more guys that look at pornography in a given week than look at a Bible.
Wow.
About 20% of the guys will look at a Bible in a given week, and somewhere around 60% will look at a pornographic image in a given week. So it's pretty sad, huge problem. More churches should do more about it. And then, if nothing else, just tell guys to go to Every Man's Battle, and then they can come back and then start the group in their church.
Sure. Yeah, and you just mentioned you do have some resources online for maybe starting your own group.